what's funny to me right now is that with this fan base, and they're not alone. I shouldn't single out this fan base because other fan bases do the same thing. And it's not uncommon that fans of a particular team don't really care about other teams. They just care about their team and what's best for their team. And so they come up with these scenarios as to how to better their team without any regard for anybody else's team. So we did this thing with Jonathan Allen when we were trying to get one of these quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford or Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. It didn't matter. Hey, just give him Jonathan Allen. Hey, give him some first round picks, maybe a second, and throw in Jonathan Allen. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And that's what I told you then. That's not how this works. You don't get to just pawn off your stuff. Hey, Landon Collins is injured. Hey, throw him in the deal. Sweeten the pot with Landon Collins. They don't want that shit, man. They don't want your damaged goods. Hey, won't you give him Ryan Kerrigan? You can't trade Ryan Kerrigan, okay? Nobody wants a 32-year-old pass rusher with no contract left on the last year of his deal. Stop trying to pawn off the stuff that you no longer want, no longer need, to somebody else thinking that they're going to look at it as this shiny new object. So fast forward to present day. I don't know how this started. I don't know where this came from. But apparently a few fans got a hold of, hey, Brandon Scherff turned down, a deal that could potentially make him the highest paid guard in the league. Again, I can't confirm nor deny that. It's being reported. You run with it because that's the gospel right now. Whether he turned down that deal or not remains to be seen. When Rivera spoke last week, he said, haven't had any negotiations with Scherff since we put the franchise tag on him. Meaning, they probably offered him a deal prior to them applying the franchise tag, and he turned it down. Now, was that the deal to make him the highest paid guard in the league? What was the language in that contract? I don't know, and I'm not looking to speculate. I assume, and I feel pretty confident in this assumption, that they made him some type of offer, and it was probably a damn good one. But as I said last year, before we slapped the first franchise tag on Brandon Scherff, don't tag a guard. And you damn sure better not tag him a second time. Okay? Because we've been down this road before. And we saw how it ended, and it did not end well for the good guys. It never does. So I didn't want to watch this movie again. I said, please, be kind. Let's rewind this thing and do it the right way. We got an opportunity. He played out the season. He got injured like he normally does. And they knew what they were signing up for. Rivera probably made the lone mistake that he's made thus far as Washington football team head coach when he slapped the franchise tag on Brandon Scherff. And he owned up to it. He said, that was my call. I think there were other people in the building that said, Ron, we shouldn't do this. This isn't smart. And Ron overruled them and said, this is the kind of guy I want to help build this culture that we're trying to instill here in Washington. He's the perfect guy for it. He's a hard worker. And Ron has said, I want my best players to also be my hardest workers. Brandon Scherff is one of the hardest workers on the team. He also happens to be one of the best players. That's exactly what Ron is looking for. And when he envisions what this organization is going to look like on and off the field, Brandon Scherff is one of those guys that's a part of this organization. Problem is, they put Brandon Scherff in a position of power. And at this point, I don't blame him for not wanting to relinquish the power that has been bestowed upon him. After the first franchise tag, you emboldened him to feel like I don't have to sign anything because I'm that much closer to free agency. So either I'm going to get to test the market where I'll make top dollar, or you'll slap me with another franchise tag and I'll be making way more than any other guard in the league. Your choice. They opted for the latter of those two options. He's going to get $18 million this season. He made 14 last year, $32 million over 2 years for a damn guard. Are you kidding me? I was against the franchise tag this offseason. I made that abundantly clear. Do not franchise tag this guy. Either it's long-term or you let him walk. Well, that ship is sailed. I don't want to beat that horse. It's long been dead. I've already said my piece on that matter. Here's what I want to focus in on. All of the fans this past week that I've been seeing on socials, on Twitter, on IG, okay, spewing this trade Brandon Scherff narrative. I can't tell you how many people have left messages, either hitting me in the DM on IG or hitting me up on Twitter and adding me on Twitter or in the comment sections of one of the videos. Hey, Brandon Scherff is trade bait. Trade bait for what and to who? Like, it's asinine to me for you guys to think that Brandon Scherff somehow is going to be traded. Who in their right mind? Let's try to make sense of this for a second. Who in their right mind is trading for Brandon Scherff and his $18 million salary for the upcoming season? Now you're going to say, well, duh, Louie T. They're going to trade for him and they're going to give him a new contract. Who's looking to give Brandon Scherff a new contract right now? Who's looking to do that? First of all the money is dried up. Like, who's got $14, $15 million sitting around? And obviously, with the way people are playing with the cap this year and finessing it, I'm pretty sure someone could trade for him and fit him under the cap this year and make the numbers work. But you don't pay the kind of money you're going to have to pay Brandon Scherff unless you're about to win a Super Bowl. Unless you're a guard or an offensive lineman away from winning a Super Bowl. You just need that one dominant piece up front. Who's doing that? This was the offseason of the guard getting reduced in salary. How many big-time guards that we see around the league either get cut or have to restructure their deal to make it make more sense? Teams got smart this offseason because of this reduced cap that they're throwing around, and they took advantage of it to get rid of players that they didn't want. That's what the teams did this year. They tried to throw this whole, man, look, we don't have any control over this. It's the cap. It's shrunk. No, you got plenty of control over this. You notice all the guys that they wanted to keep, they kept. And all the contracts that they viewed as bad or perceived to be maybe a little bit more, a little bit more extravagant than we would like to be paying this player at this time, they got rid of those guys. Trey Turner in Los Angeles with the Chargers. He got released. He was making too much money. Guard. Andrew Norwell was going to be released, was asked to restructure, and so he did. Why? Because he knew he probably wasn't going to be able to make the kind of money that he was going to get on a restructured deal. So he restructured so he could get a lot of his money up front and not have to hit free agency and see what's out there. The Giants guard that they traded for from Cleveland, who was first in Cincinnati, released. Okay? That's what was happening to the guard market. You really think that with all these guards that were out there, you really think somebody's looking to trade for Brandon Scherff? And then have to turn around and pay this guy top dollar? And give you draft capital or give you a first round pick too? You must have bumped your damn head. Brandon Scherff isn't getting traded. Who's trading for a guard? Somebody had said, hey, can't trade him to Atlanta. They're actually getting good play out of Lindstrom, Chris Lindstrom, the guard from Boston College that's still on a rookie contract. I'm like, Atlanta doesn't want Brandon Scherff any damn way. What are they going to do with Brandon Scherff? It'd be nice to add him to their offensive line. Sure, it'd be great. But they don't. This is the thing you have to understand. Unless I'm dangerously close to winning something, what the hell good is Brandon Scherff going to do for me and my team? A guard isn't going to put me over the top. If you're Detroit, and this was the pick that somebody was suggesting on Twitter, we should use Brandon Scherff as a chip to trade up to 7 to get Trey Lance. We can't do it now. Can't do it right now because we don't know if Trey Lance is going to be there, which we've talked about. Don't want to make trades prior to the draft unless you have a list of guys that you know you're going to be able to acquire at that pick so it doesn't matter. Like San Francisco, for instance, they went up to 3, not really knowing, blindly saying, hey, we pretty much know it's Lawrence 1, it's Wilson 2, but just in case, we're at 3. If the Jets decide to trip and go in a different direction, we'll be able to get our guy, which is ultimately Zach Wilson. That's who they really want. He's not going to be there. The Jets are taking him at 2. But they said, hey, we're good at 3 regardless, because whether it's Zach Wilson, it's Trey Lance, it's Justin Fields, or it's Mac Jones, we'll have a guy there that we want. So you can trade up to 3. Can't do the same thing at 7. Because what if the guy you want is Justin Fields? Well, he could go at 4. Whether it's Atlanta or somebody trades up with Atlanta, he could be gone by the time you get to 7. So you can't trade up now. You've got to be comfortable with both Lance and or Fields, for that matter. And then assuming that 5 or 6 aren't trading out and neither of them are taking quarterbacks, then you'd get one of the 2 at 7. But anyway, I digress. The person on Twitter was saying, hey, we could trade him to Detroit. They could definitely use a guard. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, really? Detroit could use a guard? They lost both of their starting guards in the offseason, and he made this case for why they could use an upgraded guard position. And I'm saying, hey, all of that is fine and dandy, and it sounds great. Let me ask you something. Detroit blatantly told us in the offseason, hey, this is a rebuild. It's a rebuild. Traded Matthew Stafford. If they were trying to win now, they wouldn't have traded a top 10 quarterback away for Jared Goff. They're in a rebuild. Anybody that's been paying attention knows this. So if you're in the middle of a rebuild, what does Brandon Scherff do? A 30-year-old guard, okay? What is Brandon Scherff? How old? Hey, Google. How old is Brandon Scherff?
29 years old.
He's 29 years old. Gonna be 30. What good is a 30-year-old guard going to do for the Detroit Lions that's in the middle of a rebuild? Not to mention, if I'm Brandon Scherff, and Brandon doesn't have any control over what happens. Okay, he doesn't have a no trade clause or anything like that with his franchise tag. Washington can do whatever they want to do, but this is the thing. If I'm Brandon, I can make life hell for Washington if they want to trade me, because guess what? I have to agree to a contract. No one's going to trade for Brandon Scherff and play him on a 1-year, $18 million deal. Nobody is doing it. I guarantee you nobody is foolish enough to trade for an $18 million hit in one season. Nobody's doing it. I don't even know if you can. I'm pretty sure you can. I'm not sure, though. I don't want to sit here and blow smoke. I don't know if you can or not. I just know this. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is trading for $18 million contract. And Brandon Scherff is saying to himself, I could make $18 million in 1 year and then turn around next year. Washington's not going to franchise tag me for a 3rd consecutive year. I know this for a fact. His agent has already told him, Brandon, you're in the driver's seat, bro. Don't do anything. You don't have to sign anything except for that franchise tag, which he's already done. You're in this driver's seat, bro. You made 14 off this team last year. You're going to make 18 more this year. They're not going to use the franchise tag next year. So guess what? You get to hit the free agent market and you're going to get a massive deal on top of the $32 million you just got. You're going to get another $45 million guaranteed on a contract that you sign next year, and you put it all together, and that's $77 million you've made in 3 years. Why in the hell would I agree to sign a long-term deal with any damn body when I know I got 2 bites at the apples? Double fisting. You get 2 bites at the apple. One over here, 18 million, and another one next year in free agency. Why would I agree to a new, fresh contract with somebody? Makes absolutely no sense. Not for Brandon Scherff, it doesn't. And so, if Washington even thought they could move him, which they're not thinking about doing because they're not stupid. They know that no one's looking to take Brandon Scherff on. Even if they were thinking about doing it, Brandon doesn't have to agree to sign. Hell, he won't sign one here. What makes you think he's going to sign a long-term deal somewhere else? It's not about a long-term deal and wanting to be the highest paid tackle. It's about maximizing his opportunity to hit free agency, which he is currently doing in grand fashion, I may add. Okay? He took the Kirk Cousins route, and we allowed him to do it like some dummies. A wise man once told me, you either learn from your past or you're doomed to repeat it. Apparently, we didn't learn from our past at all. And I know it's a different cast of characters here. Come on, man. Whether you're in Carolina as Ron was, or you're in San Francisco as Martin Mayhew was, or you were on Jupiter. Everybody knows what happened with Kirk Cousins, man. You didn't have to be here in Washington to know that he got 2 straight franchise tags, left after the second one, and got the fattest, fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. Everybody knows that. Brandon Scherff isn't going to get a fully guaranteed contract next year, but he just got Washington for 2 straight franchise tags, and he's going to get a hell of a lot of money in guarantees next year when he signs a new 4-year lucrative deal. Brandon Scherff is winning. And we're not going to be able to trade him. He's not signing long term. We're not going to be able to trade him. So you can stop with the pipe dreams, guys. I hate to be a dream killer, but I have to kill your dream on this one. We're not moving Brandon Scherff, and nobody is going to do us a solid and take him off of our hands. Okay? So all of you who are out there wishing that Washington does some kind of magical trick, waves their hands in some kind of wand, and boom, Brandon Scherff and a 3rd round pick to fill in the blank team for number fill in the blank to get fill in the blank player. That's dead. And Ron has already made it abundantly clear as well this year. He's not looking to overspend to move up in the draft. He's made that abundantly clear. He doesn't want to mortgage the future to try and go up and get a guy. So I said all of that to say this. Highly unlikely that anything comes about in the form of a Brandon Scherff deal here in Washington on a long-term deal or trading him somewhere else on a deal. Neither of them are going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen, barring some kind of catastrophe, is Brandon Scherff is going to suit up for the Washington football team again in 2021. It'll be your last year seeing 75 with Scherff on the back, suiting up for the burgundy and gold. So enjoy it while you can, because this will be it. He will not sign here long-term, more likely than not. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I was okay with the alternative, which was, hey, either he signs on the dotted line prior to free agency, or you let him test free agency, and he'll already know. Him and his agent will already know the deal that Washington has on the table. That same deal that they offered him prior to slapping the franchise tag on him. If it reportedly, check this out. Listen to this and think about this. Let this resonate for a second. If it was a deal making him the highest paid tackle or guard in the league, leave it on the table. Say, all right, you don't want to take this deal? Go out there, and if you can get more power to you, man. We wish you nothing but the best. But if you don't, you know what's here, man. You know what we got in terms of an offer. We're not pulling it. We're not changing it. It ain't going up. It ain't going down. You know what it is. Nothing's out there for you. You can always come back home. They could have done it that way. If Washington's deal, right now, the highest paid guard per average is Brandon Brooks at $14.1 million a year. Signed an extension with the Eagles. Brandon Scherff, I thought, wanted about 15, 16 million. I've been talking about that number. You know, I talked about the amount of guaranteed money that Zach Martin got in Dallas, and I said it's going to have to be a percentage chunk like that. But in terms of per annual salary basis, it was going to have to be in that $15 million range, which is asinine for a guard. But okay, let's say Washington extended out a deal to Brandon Scherff. 5 years, $75 million, $15 million per year. Let's say that 40 of it was guaranteed. That's more than half of the contract, by the way. It's about 60% of the contract, 55, 60%, somewhere in there of the contract. And he turns it down. Let's say he turns it down. He knows if you're going to franchise me, that's 18. 18 is more than 15, and I can get another bite of the apple next year in free agency and still might get that same deal you were offering me this year. So I might be able to have my cake, eat it too. You put that deal down on the table and you say, hey, Brandon, this is where we at. You know where we stand. If you need us, come holler at us. You go out there, you see what's out there for you. If you find something better, man, we love you. Go get your bread. No hard feelings. It's a business. But if you go out there and the best you can come up with is a deal for $12.5 million, $13 million, our $15 million deal right here, still on the table. You can come back and sign it whenever you're ready. That's how they should have approached this. That's how they should have played it. Ron played this hand wrong. Ron had all of the spades in his hands and every opportunity to set Brandon Scherff and his agent. And Ron effed up and ended up butting heads with his teammate, and now they got set. How? He played his cards wrong on this one. And we're not going to get out of this thing with a trade. So you guys can quit with the, hey, let's trade Scherff. He's trade bait. He's a chip. No, he's not. He's the right guard of the Washington football team in the upcoming season. That's what he is for $18 million. All right. I just wanted to set the record straight on that. Wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that because I just heard too much of that this week about trading Brandon Scherff. A lot of it today too. And I'm just like, are you guys serious right now? Like, are you, I mean, that's that, fantasy football, Madden type thing, like where you just make stuff up. Like, he's not getting traded. It's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Red Wings 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings 01 writes, I never understood why everyone was immediately on the trade Scherff train. It'd be better to just wait and see events unfold. We don't even have any substantial details yet. And look, again, people are going to run with the first information that they get. And the first information that everyone got was, oh, he turned down a deal to be the highest paid guard in the league. Well, is that so? Well, what were the parameters of that deal? People don't care about the intricate details. They just want the headline. I can't tell you how many times people read a headline, don't bother to read the story, and don't really have all of the facts or information nor details surrounding that headline. They just read the headline and run with it. And the headline, that's the salacious part to gain attention, to gain clicks, to get people talking. You got to read the story, though, because the headline may not do the actual story justice. And in this particular case, with Brandon Scherff, the headline is, oh, he turned down a deal that would have made him the highest paid guard in the league. Well, why did he turn down that deal? I think I know why. If in fact it is true that he turned down a deal that would have made him the highest paid guard in the league, I think I know why, but there could be other factors as to why. Like I said, it could be language in there that says, hey, if you don't play in at least 13 games, which, let's look at his stats. When's the last time Brandon Scherff played in 14 games? Let's say his contract says you got to play in 14 games to earn all of these bonuses and incentives in your deal. When's the last time Brandon Scherff played in 14 games in a season for us? I think you got to go back 4 years ago. He's been hurt the last 3 years. Let's see how many games Scherff has started at. 13 last year, 11 the year before that, 8 the year before that, 14 the year before that, and in his first 2 years, it was 16, all 16 games. So he hasn't started all 16 games in 4 years. Last year wasn't terrible, but he still missed 3 games. So at the end of the day, they could have put a provision in there that says, hey, you got to play in at least 14 games. Scherff is saying to his guy, I ain't playing at least 14 games since my 3rd year in the league, man. What are they trying to do to me here? You know, that's anything. And Scherff's already proven he's a tough guy. He's played through stuff before, but you're putting extra pressure on him to earn certain incentives by making him play through some things that maybe he wouldn't play through if he didn't have that clause in his contract. So he might be like, why the hell would I sign that? That's dumb. We don't know. That could be one of the reasons why he didn't sign that deal. Or, like I said, the reason I think it is simply, I got a chance to make $18 million this year. There is no contract out there for me that's going to allow me to make $18 million in 1 year and then turn around the next year and potentially make $35, $40, $45 million on a guaranteed signing bonus portion of a deal. You know, where I sign my name on the dotted line and instantly I have $27 million wired to my bank account. And then I've got other guarantees in the contract that allows me roster bonuses and things of that nature where I'm earning money hand over fist. Why would I sign your deal when I'm going to make $18 million this year? That just doesn't make any sense for me and my family financially. So I never understood why people wanted to just jump to, hey, let's trade Scherff. He doesn't want to be here long term. You should have thought about that before you slapped the franchise tag on him. You know? But to Ron's credit, and in his defense, he thought he was going to be able to get this deal done. He thought that Brandon Scherff saw what Ron was doing here and what he was trying to build, and he thought Scherff was one of those guys that valued winning and being loyal over money, and he got the game all twisted up. You got to listen to people when they talk and when they tell you stuff. A wise woman once said, men tell you how they really are and how they feel. You just got to have your ears open so that you can listen and hear what they're saying and not what you want to hear. How many times has Brandon Scherff, have you heard, and this is the funny part, Washington fans, after every time Brandon Scherff speaks, we don't hear what he's saying. You hear what you want to hear. You hear the part about, I want to be here for my entire career. I want to be a Redskin, or I want to be a part of this team, this organization. I want to spend my whole career here. That's what you hear when you hear Brandon Scherff speak. You didn't hear the part about him saying, I'm going to leave that up to my agent. My agent is handling all of this. I'm not in any of these contract negotiations. I'm letting my agent handle that. You ain't listened to that part, though. Because if you leave it up to the agent, he's going to do what's not only in the best interest of the player from a financial standpoint, but what's best for him. That agent's only getting 3%. So he wants the biggest deal possible, so his cut is bigger. Brandon Scherff signing a long-term deal doesn't give him a bigger cut than him getting a slice of an $18 million cut this year and then a slice of another $75 million contract next year. Versus just a $75 million contract now. Which one sounds better? No, he's got a chance to get a bite out of 2 different apples as well. Not just Brandon, the agent as well. And Brandon has told us time after time after time, I'm going to let my agent handle that. He was telling us all along, I'm getting mine. I'm getting mine. You just chose to hear the part about him wanting to be a Washington football team member for life. That's all you heard. You didn't hear the part about, I'm going to let my agent handle that. He was telling you. He was telling you the entire time, I'm about to get mine. And if these boys are going to allow me to rob them blind, well, I'm going to do that. And it's not like he's stealing from us. It ain't like he played in 6 games last year. He played in 13 games last year. He was a first-team All-Pro. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Can we keep it $150 here? We usually do. All right? I don't even have to ask. That's a given. We're going to keep it $1 and some change. He wasn't a first-team All-Pro last year. He got that off of the strength of his name. Brandon Scherff. 4-time Pro Bowler. He got that off the strength of people knowing who he is. Brandon Scherff, this was not his best season of his career. I refuse to believe that. Anyway, I digress. I don't know why everybody else was on that train. I wasn't on that train, and I just want to make sure that you're not on that train because I don't want your feelings to get hurt. Because you're not trading Brandon Scherff. There's no out for Washington in this situation other than, hey, he's going to have to play the string out of this season, and then we'll see what happens from there. We've seen this movie before. We know how it ends. He's going to end up getting a long-term deal elsewhere, more likely than not. We'll see. He might decide, hey, I milked y'all for 32 over the last 2 years. Now I want to come back and finish the job. And he might sign a long-term deal here next year. Highly unlikely, though. Highly unlikely. Thank you for that super chat, Red Wings 01.
LouieTeeNetwork.